Ginger Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelit faith standing strong through it all. The flame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings the chaos and thrill, dropping rare loot with unshakable will. Forte holds the line, grace under the blade, faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life now saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the Gaming Roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. Reshrined by the riding tree. Ride no please, rise to the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable. Brian here, joined by my friends Scrag and Soro. Today's overall show, we're going to be focusing in on what's been going on with MMOs. I don't know if anybody out there feels like it, but there are 3 big MMO releases that have just literally happened. Yesterday, Blue Protocol Star Renaissance made its way out into release, and it was interesting. I got to play and stream a little bit of that. The one thing I will say that we talked about last time with Soro is they actually did bring in customizable controller support, where in the previous builds it was what it was. So I'm going to be playing around with all of that. But following this, we got the New World update, the Night Haven, and then the PAX Day officially releases out of early access and into 1.0. And yeah, it's like, wow, like so much to do, so many interesting games to play. And I think perhaps that's why we're seeing such pushback overall on the game. I've just finished watching like MTash review of Blue Protocol. He isn't too pleased. And I thought it'd be great to sit down, roundtable it, talk about so far our thoughts and just the general aspect of launching an MMO at all in today's era. It seems to be very, very risky. But let's go with Zoro. Your second time back on the show here. Last time we were talking about the open beta. How have you been, sir?
Doing pretty good. Hanging in there.
You level 60 yet in Blue?
No. So they're doing the same thing that they did in the beta and time gating the quests and everything like that. And you can only do so much of the side work to level up. I am level 21 now, though.
That's still impressive. I remember that feature in Final Fantasy 14 1.0, the fatigue system.
Yeah,
yeah. Wasn't well received then. Yeah, wasn't well received then. Probably is not well received now. But it is what it is, man. What's going on with you, Scrag?
Oh, working on a project outside of work as well. I mean, been playing just a few minutes of a bunch of different games for examples and stuff. And I did try out the Blue Protocol gotcha game. I will not call it the other word because it's not that, in my opinion. And it was very underwhelming for like all the things that were described in the original sounded really cool, but everything in this was it felt like I was playing Genshin Impact, but with like more restrictions. And you guys talked about the controller support, and I do agree that it's a good thing that they allowed you to change your controller settings because their like default settings make absolutely no logical sense like whatsoever at all.
Yeah, it took a little while to get me used to because I kept pressing A to confirm, and it was like, and cancel. It's like,
And you're out of the menu.
and you're out of the menu. All right, all
It's
right.
like sometimes you hit A to confirm, sometimes you hit X to confirm. Other times you hold the left bumper to use abilities, and other times you use the right trigger to use a different ability, but not those other abilities that are the same icon. No. You need to hold the right bumper for those, and just the UI for the controller scheme.
Yeah.
Makes
One
no
issue that
sense.
I'm currently running into is like I got it running on Steam Deck. I've played a little bit, but
Mhm.
and even going in and disabling Steam controller input, I'm like it still acts like I thinks I'm playing on keyboard and mouse. So it's not currently at the time of this recording not fully integrated into the Steam Deck in and of itself. But yeah, honestly, as I was telling Sora and like the pre-show as we were kind of gathering together, I was like, it seems like like I get why it's on mobile, like the way that it feels. Like this feels like it's a nice little thing I can pick up on my handheld from time to time, go run, do some grinding. Apparently, and I didn't even know this about the game. I learned this from MTash's video. There's auto battle, and that actually personally excites me. Like,
No,
So-
it's not
like,
true
wow.
auto battle though. It's not true.
Yeah,
auto battle.
it's not. So it's auto. What is it? Auto.
Casting. You
combat.
set a script.
Yeah, like it's like macros.
Yeah.
You
I like
pretty
that.
much
But
pretty
only
much turn on a macro.
Like
And
he
that's
said that as a negative, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No,
dude.
macros are great. This is not that.
Like-
This is one. This is macro.
macro.
Yeah.
One. Like,
Macro.
you don't get to select different ones.
But it uses your abilities and fights and picks enemies and stuff like that. Like, as weird as it is, I remember when was
Like
it
you still have to
3?
dodge and everything and
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
the mechanics. So like it's not like, oh yeah, you just set it and forget it.
Well, if I
But
just
it's
wanted to go
also
grind
not
down
like
some monsters
if
for a little
you-
while.
Well, it's also not like if you did just like set it and forget it, that you would die anyway.
Yeah,
because you
right.
wouldn't.
I just feel like I'm definitely, I know, in the minority, but when they had that aspect of Throne of Liberty, I was like, I'm actually generally curious about this whole feature, because in my mind, and I get why I'm in the minority and why the majority makes way more sense, but it's somebody with very limited time. I get that I'm losing to people who are botting anyhow. Like, we know that people are botting, and it's like, oh, if they just gave us all the ability to go do these insane grinds and I could just let it run on my computer, like, okay, I'm not like, a part of me just wants to experience it to see if it's like, oh yeah, that was an interesting use of my compute time on my devices as opposed to like anything else. Because yeah, it's like when it comes down to what I crave in an MMO specifically is more that sandbox style flavor, more that grinding, and that the economy kind of being one of the real key pillars of why I like to play the games with player trade. And I'm glad to see that they brought in more player trade into this version, because in the original there was 0. Like, there was you want to give something to somebody, you can't. Like, it was a pretty hardcore kind of approach, and I was like, oh, that's gonna like, how's that gonna feel over time? Because one of the things I feel that connects us is that economy, and especially if it's player driven, which in this case it is not. But yeah, I'm actually very interested to see if kind of while I'm at work, like having it up in the corner of the screen, letting it do its thing, and then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, I've gotten the stuff that I need, and then I go do the thing. And, I just go ahead.
I would rather they do it for gathering rather than combat. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, for instance, there's a game already with this feature. It's called Black Desert Online, and you can set your character to just run in a loop on a horse to train it, or you can set it to walk back and forth with a package to level strength, or you can set it to gather water until your inventory is full. You can set it to make beer for like ever, right? Like, that's already a thing that exists. And the reason why I think that it's better on gathering and crafting rather than like combat is because those things, they're going to get botted anyway, and they affect the economy in the marketplace. But also, it allows you to make some sort of progression without negatively impacting literally everyone else who's online at the time. Because
Mhm.
if you're allowed to just go kill monsters in a forest endlessly while you're offline, then that's all anyone's going to be doing. And if you need to go kill monsters and you're online, you have no incentive to engage with the combat mechanics of the game at all until you go to a dungeon, which at
I
that
always
point, do you even know how to play the game?
Well, you wouldn't. It's the same thing when people use jump potions. Like there's so many things that they've brought into what has made the modern MMO, I guess, just less what I'm in the market for, as opposed to like like I understand the business logic is like they're trying to make it so that like yeah, with Final Fantasy 14, okay, you don't need to level up to 90 and do all these things. You can just spend a little money and you can go do the thing that like yeah, how do you know your job, your class at that high level when you just jump to it instantly? And the answer is you don't. And I think other people have to kind of bear that burden. That's why I think when it comes down to like my view, and this is always something interesting because like what was y'all's first MMO that you ever experienced?
RuneScape.
Yeah.
Both of y'all? Okay, so y'all have that RuneScape mindset. For me, obviously Final Fantasy 11, and I've shared that multiple times, but it's that very sandbox kind of you're playing in another world that even if you're not online, the world is still going on. Players are still doing various different things. Time continues to pass. And I've often thought like as I'm playing it, like how interesting would it be, when we bring up the concept of AI, is that in Forza, you have this concept of a drivatar that kind of learns, for the most part, like what your style is and kind of, basically then creates like a botted version of you so that as your friends are online and racing, they're racing against, you and how if you like to go and crash out or whatever, like that's what you're going to do in the race, which is really kind of interesting. And I often thought is like, what if that technology was translated into the sandbox MMO? The thing is, the caveat would be is that you as a player need, and human need to sleep. In game, you would need to have that kind of like you could have that forced rest time when you're offline where it's like, okay, yep, when they're logged out, it's like they're, gone to bed for the night. But then like outside of that, like, okay, you've got 8 hours to go and, grind, and it would go out and basically kind of learn what you did and then basically be your representation in the game and in the world, even if you weren't directly calling those actions. They would just be how you play. And then it's, oh, you like to go farm mobs, all right, go do that. You like to go gather, you like to run a shop. It's like I often thought that would have been an interesting evolution for the MMOs, but clearly not as something that anybody has been overall investing in the long run. So it's like, anyway, I just I just think the sandbox MMO is the most interesting form of it, but I think I just don't see MMOs making big splashes like they did outside of like I could think, that people think of a handful of MMOs on the horizon, but with the launch of Blue Protocol, that game released, failed, is back now. I love the art style. I love how it looks. I love the voice acting. I actually enjoy the combat, but I do wonder. It's like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to be a game that's going to, outside of just a couple of people's people checking it out on a curiosity perspective because it's free. Like you said, you brought up Genshin Impact. Like, are they even going to be able to maintain a player base long enough and have that financial support where they keep releasing content? And Sora, like, have you been enjoying your time with the game so far now that it's finally out?
Yeah. I mean,
Level
the
21.
the
I mean, that's
yeah
pretty cool. Like,
the first 20 levels or so, the first day of story and whatnot, is the exact same as it was during the beta test. There's a couple little different things, like some of the side quests and whatnot. They shifted around so you can do them a little sooner and whatnot.
mhm.
But to keep you there, they do time gate the main story. But the matching system for some of the dungeons or the hardcore dungeons and stuff like that is pretty neat. Like, they don't just, oh, well, we're just going to throw you into random party of people. It's like they
Mhm.
actually try to match you with a party that's going to complement your style and things like that, or your character, your class and everything. Like the first one right now, I think is like a Goblin Hive or something, and there's a normal version, a expert version, and a master version. Master version doesn't release for another couple weeks, which is fine, or a couple days or something, which is fine. But you have to hit a certain level threshold or a gear threshold, and then go from there. And you can win all kinds of better gear and materials and things like that to upgrade yourself.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did find kind of funny is a lot of the Steam reviews are like, oh, well, all the gotcha money and, whatnot. Well, all of the things that you would be quote unquote paying for are cosmetics. There's nothing
Yeah,
there.
but isn't it
that's
weird
like,
how every single piece of gear has a cosmetic slot, and there's a lot of slots, like a ton.
So what? So what? I like the way that the normal armor looks. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't have to spend a dime.
Well,
I like,
but that's the thing that I kind of wonder, because like 100% cosmetics. That people are opting into that experience. It's great that it's not, oh, if I want to be good at the game, I need to swipe my credit card, which there are those MMOs out there. But I just wonder, does that have enough appeal? Like, and it very well might, because again, the thing that people bring up to mind is Genshin Impact, which isn't like an MMO. This is more of that because you have more people running around the open world, and you can interact with chat and things like that. So it's got way more of those features, but it doesn't have that. You're chasing these characters. The question is that are the cosmetics going to be enough that allow them to actually continue to monetize? Because they didn't do this out of the kindness of their heart. It's like,
now, what's it's not a direct correlation, but what's 14's endgame?
Oh, don't say it, dude. It's so painful. Oh,
okay, dude. For most people,
for most people, the end game is unsubbing and not playing until the next season. But I'm not going to admit to that, because that side of the community is the worst.
But so many people say, and so many people are like, oh yeah, the glamour is 14's endgame. Well, that's what appeals. That's what's going to bring the money in for these guys, or for Blue Protocols. Oh, I like the way that looks. Let's customize that. Let's change it to a different color. Let's whatever. So like it's for those kind of people, in my opinion. I'm not one of those people, so that aspect is not for me. I'm there for the gameplay, the mechanics, the storytelling, the world building, things like that.
It makes me I feel like I'm playing, in a way, Sword Art Online. It's that anime that I think it's just visually very enjoyable. Like I'm hanging out with the kids playing it. Yeah, and it's like I feel like they knocked that out of the park, and it is something that I'm like, okay. And the combat so far, I've been sticking with the Frost Mage. I was like, yeah, I'm having fun, and it's like I can see how it can unpack. That's where the handheld is really going to be kind of the be all end all. If I end up getting to level cap, it's like, can I play this in my handheld, and the comfort or whatever, just going and enjoying it in that regards. I do enjoy the fact that it's like free to play, because that also means that like if I do end up having fun, it's like easy to jump in with the kids. They that's where I'm like, if it's a success, will they bring it to other handhelds like the Switch? Because right now it's PC mobile, which makes sense. And then the fact that Steam Deck runs the PC on the game, I'm like, all right, it seems like that we're on this cusp of this whole new era. And it's like if it plays with a controller, then I'm way more likely to play it in that this game does. So I was like, I'm overall just generally like pleased, but I'm not at the same time going to be like, this is my new main game. I'm doing 100%, 100 miles an hour, nothing else. Because it's like I've played it, and then I played it yesterday, and then last night I jumped back onto Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm just like, I love Final Fantasy Tactics so much that it's just been a fun time to kind of step back into that game, unlocking the jobs. And so the contrast there, especially in the contrast with Final Fantasy 14, it's like man, things I feel with modern games, they're just not living up to what the expectation was. And if you guys, has anybody played the Oblivion remake that they released earlier this year? I
played
stepped into that game and I was like, Skyrim, okay, was nice, but I was like, I always kind of felt Oblivion was way, way better. And stepping into it, it confirmed that. I was like, oh my gosh, Oblivion is so much better. And so stepping into Final Fantasy Tactics, like this is the goated Final Fantasy version that exists. And then you look at the struggles of 14, and then you go and you see, and I don't know if y'all have seen this news, but at least according to various different websites, Final Fantasy 11 is bigger than Final Fantasy 14 right now. They've had to close down multiple servers and not let anybody else on them. Like the game, I think gamers are just like looking at what's in a way like modern slop, right? Like where the phrase AI slop is a real thing. And my wife was keeping me up to date on all the like Sora stuff, and I had to be like, I was like, all right, gotta classify. We're not talking Soro. Sora.
It's not
like,
my fault, I swear.
Yeah, it's not this guy's fault. It's and it's like all the various different things out there, and it's like, oh man, like I don't know, like I'm like my time is so limited that it's like when I want to sit down and play a game, like I think, is that just a random thought? I wonder if that's why we've seen this bigger push into nostalgia, that, or are they just out of ideas? What do you think, Scrag?
I think they're just better games
Why?
because the people who made them cared about them and actually enjoyed making games and playing games rather than just getting into it because you can make a lot of money with it by throwing money at it.
I can see that.
Yeah. So what went wrong? Like, is it just pure money is the problem, or?
Well, I wouldn't say money's purely the problem. I would say that the problem is that there was more money to be had, and that the people who had the capability to enable that money to flow into their pockets get involved. So, like, for example, in the olden days, EA, right? EA made great games. Star Wars Battlefront for the PS2, that was legit. That was awesome. Star Wars Battlefront for the PS4, like dog shit, man. Not great. And a lot of the reason why it wasn't great was because it feels like a lot of the focus that should have went into, hey, let's get devs who understand good gameplay and, like, you know, all the Battlefield things. Let's get people who like actually want to do something cool. Went into, oh hey, go get the recruiter to hire 5 more monetization experts. You know, like it was just a mess, a debacle. And then you go over to like Bethesda. Bethesda's been riding on their high horse from Morrowind and Skyrim for like 15 years. I can't think of a single game that they themselves have made that I was like, oh, that's really awesome, since like Fallout 3. Right? Maybe Skyrim for sure. But like, and we're not counting id Software here because that was an acquisition. id Software is legit on their own. Bethesda pretty much just bought them to make their portfolio more valuable by osmosis, which really we know that doesn't actually work, in my opinion. But yeah, just like, oh, we've got a lot of money. Let's do something to make a lot more money, right? Like that pisses me off. Like, I would much rather play a game made by somebody who is like 5 different spectrums of autism and like is obsessing over it for the last 20 years, and then finally made a game like Dwarf Fortress. Yeah. Then play freaking another Assassin's Creed game. Like, seriously, I stopped thinking that Assassin's Creed was like a good series or even fun after I beat Assassin's Creed 2. I was like, okay, I've had enough Assassin's Creed. But guess what? They made 12 more, and they're all the same.
Well, wasn't that what Todd Howard said about like Skyrim? People were like, stop remaking Skyrim. And he's like, as soon as you guys stop buying it, like, what's going on here? Like, this is like a cash cow for us right now. And they're able to kind of capitalize off of that. For me, the like a glass shattering moment was stepping back into Oblivion, even though I only stepped back into it briefly because there's just so much going on, and anybody who's a parent out there knows like life can really find a way to keep you busy. But I stepped into it. I was like, this in and of itself feels instantly like amazing. Where it felt like, in a way, if you were going to describe it like as like the last 10 years, there's been way more diet soda that has been, that these games are versus like, oh, I really want the real thing. I want the full experience. I want something that is satisfying to play through. And then again, stepping into Final Fantasy Tactics, it's like, how is it that this hasn't been like replicated? Like even the Tactics Advanced series, I've talked to a bunch of people about that. Those are lost right now on Game Boy. Like let's see if we can't bring those back. Game Boy Advance in this case.
There are many very good SRPG games, such as
Disgaea,
Advanced Wars. That's also stuck on Game Boy.
Oh,
but
dude,
I think they made a
Advanced
remake recently.
I think they did recently.
But one thing I would say though, like I have a list of games that are actually like installed on my computer, and I have probably over 1,000 games on my Steam account. But if you go through the list of games that are actually still installed that I intend to play, you kind of pick up a pattern. Zone of the Enders, Project Zomboid, Space Marine 2, Metaphor, Armored Core 6, Katamari Damacy, Citadel, Monster Hunter, Chrono Cross, Wizardry, First Descendant, Elden Ring, the other one, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 4, Guilty Gear XX Accent Core plus R, Ellen, Rimworld, Ultra Kill, The Finals, Deadlock, Balatro, Noita, Surrounded.
Balatro, so fun.
Final Fantasy Tactics, Risk of Ring 2, Final Fantasy 16, Mega Bonk.
Yeah, I got like Final Fantasy 11, Path of Exile 2, Spaceborne 2, PAX Day. Yeah, so many interesting. Like I gotta time. Strangers in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which was a gift from Sean who gave that to me. I was like, oh yeah, I've enjoyed that overall. But it's just like I'm not finding these hooks coming in where it's like I can't remember the last game that I couldn't set down outside of No Rest for the Wicked. Like that has been, and that came out last year, and I've put in like 200 plus hours in an early access game where my characters won't cross over to 1.0, and like so it's like it exists. Like these games do exist, but I feel like they're either harder to find or fewer and far between. But what were you gonna say, Sora?
So is this? You mentioned a nostalgia thing. So do you think it's just that right now, or is it also we're seeing this in movies and everything too? Is they're rebooting and remaking TV shows, movies and stuff like that because they ran out of innovative ideas? There's nothing, if you look at games coming out now, there's nothing quote unquote new that is bringing people into it. There's no innovation. There's no next step of, this type of story or this type of mechanic or whatever. It's a bunch of reskin of what has already been done over the past 20 years. It's the same thing, but now it just looks prettier.
I think
because you can look at like Nintendo and Final Fantasy and these other games and go, well, they got the way that they are because they put in the effort, they put in new ideas, something that has never been seen before to try out.
Right.
And now, not so much.
There's the aspect of like that new experience that is attractive. And obviously as we get older, the new experiences become fewer and far between right now. Like with the kids, they're playing classic games and they're seeing things for the first time. And it's like, you'll end up seeing that over and over and over again because it's iterative. But then there's also kind of a refinement, right? Because it's that, like, you bring up some interesting points. And I think when I look at the state of gaming and the state of movies, I just finished watching Peacemaker season 2 last night. It concluded, and I really loved that. I really love the Superman movie. I enjoyed Creature Commandos. So far, I feel like the DCU is on a really interesting foot with a focus in on quality. And it's like you can make the argument, yeah, it's basing some things off the comics or these, like, okay, we could have that discussion. But when I look at the problem in my mind as it exists today, it's two factors. I think we're busier as human beings than we've ever been, and this isn't just me as a parent. This is just what I look at over the world. People are, if you're lucky to have a job, you might have two jobs. You might be working and doing all these other things. You have a job and your side hustle, and that side hustle aspect has been true for at least the last 20 years, right? But I think essentially, like, yeah, people, everything's gone up in price. Everything's so much more expensive. So people are having to make sacrifices, whether they have to like work more or whether they have to, spend less money in that respect. And historically, video games have been a really good value proposition. You buy one video game and you play it. But the other factor in terms of, I think, our overall busyness and just, that piece is that the things that can take our attention are so easy to get to, right? It's so much easier for me to get and to scroll Twitter than it is to boot up a video game. And there's so many things vying for my attention that these things are then competing. And so I think essentially we have both a saturated market, we have a market that's risk adverse, and then you also have a consumer that if I'm not finding this entertaining in moments, I can just swipe away and I can move on. And that's where it's like, I think, that's my impression of Blue Protocol, to kind of bring this all around. If it doesn't instantly hook anybody, like outside of the diehard fans, somebody like me and Soro who have been following this game for a very long time, who like these style of games, like with, especially with Phantasy Star Online 2, real big fans of that game. It's like outside of like us, it's like, okay, I think people, are going to try it, move on, and it's going to be what it is. And that's perfectly fine. But there's so much out there right now that if you're like, Brian, I have, 5 hours a week, where should I put it? And if you have never played Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm going to plug that game so freaking hard because I think it is the best Final Fantasy game that's ever created. And it's been locked away on Android and cell phones and stuff like that. Like, come on, guys, let's bring it back. Let's give everybody the ability to kick back, relax, and play it. But that's what I feel is going on. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Like, I don't know if you guys are feeling stretched for time, or it's, you brought up the aspect of nostalgia. I think there is a part of that. Like, I know when there's a new property, nostalgia plays a bigger role because it's like, oh, I like that franchise. So, I'm more willing to give it a chance because, again, going back to the well, like, I don't, it's not a function of money. I can afford the Final Fantasy Tactics. So when it comes out, do I have the time to spend? And the answer generally has been no.
Right. Like I was talking with my buddy the other day and going, what games do you miss? Whenever, you would get home from school and you just want to play a game. What do you miss? What would you go back and what would you want to play?
Yeah.
And one of the ones that we brought up, because we both loved it so much, was the Drakengard series. Off of it reflects Near and stuff like that. There's actually a whole convoluted storyline between the two, which is insane. But being able to go through and see all the different endings, because there wasn't just one, there was like 15, 20 endings in the first game alone.
Yeah.
And going through and discovering those and figuring it out and stuff like that. Sure, the gameplay was a little bit repetitive, but it was fun because you're like, okay, well, how do I do this next? How do I do that next? And we're sitting there going, I wouldn't mind a remaster. It doesn't have to be a full remake. Just boost the graphics and bring it back.
The remake thing is a challenge, though, because like we get the Final Fantasy VII version, which like, so far from what I've experienced from I haven't played the Rebirth yet, but I was like, oh, this is enjoyable. And I'm looking forward to the fact that it's coming to Xbox Play Anywhere. I was like, I'll just pick it up there because I like my achievements. That's just where I like to, I have it on Steam. It's like, all right. But so I'm sitting back and I'm like, I'm enjoying my time with this. But then I see something like Expedition 33 and I go,
I highly recommend that, by the way.
And I've only finished Act 1, and so I need to sit down and work on finishing that game. But that being said, with Expedition 33, they've talked about like, hey, should we do a remake of Final Fantasy 6? It would take us forever to do that. Well, up the graphics.
Then do it.
Bring in the Expedition 33 engine. Like, you just bring it. Like, it doesn't have to be all this action combat stuff. I think I enjoy like turn-based, and I think we've seen it every year for the last couple of years at the Game Awards. A turn-based RPG, Metaphor Refantasio, last year, for example. It's like people are buying these games. They are interested in these games. I don't think it all has to, because I think one of the things that I feel like we lose, and this is a kind of a 14 versus 11 discussion that we're shifting into, is that in 11 you have so many choices, you have so many skills, you got so many versions of the spells, etc. Fire versus Viagra, which would be AoE. Like they just give it all to you, and you can go about it, because it's kind of it's you're auto attacking, but then you have all your menus and things like that, and you build out your macros. Where in 14, it's still auto attack, but you're having to fire off your skills more frequently, so much that it's more action oriented, and the faster the combat gets, the less technical. So like 14 doesn't have elemental weaknesses, and when they took that out of the game, I thought that was I was like, oh, that was a bummer. I get it, because you want to make sure that anybody can go into the content. You don't have a boss that's like you're healing with fire, but that's something that's really magical. That's something that's really cool, especially when you experience that for the first time. Like, for example, I mean, again, I'm really loving tactics. Welcome to the Tactics podcast. Like you fight undead monsters. One way to kill them, just use a Phoenix down on them, and bada bing, bada boom, they're done. And it's use so cure. Cool. Yeah, use cure. They're also weak to fire. Like, there's just these things that you kind of discover. And so for me, yeah, I'm letting the kids experience that, which is really fun to watch them kind of it. But I guarantee you, I played so much Final Fantasy 14, and it's been so long, I forgot about the Phoenix Down thing. And then it was like, I saw it and I was like, oh, yes, this is what is missing. This is what is missing. At least if nothing else, I think one of the changes they made to 14 is they finally made Phoenix Down stackable. I was like, it only
could have more than one.
It only took 15 years, for that to kind of make its way into it. Have you guys been following like the numbers between like 11 and 14? Does this like overall any interesting thoughts that you might have?
I've heard a couple things. 11's getting a lot more back to its player base and everything.
Why do you think that is?
Because 14 isn't scratching the itch for a lot of people, and they're just trying to stay similar or with an IP that they know well enough, and something that would feel adjacent. And I think 11 does that. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if people start jumping from 14 to WoW again, like how they had the WoW Exodus. Okay. Now we're going to have the 14 Exodus coming up. I'm going to bet. I
think after like when the Lunky Banjo numbers, it's like, yeah, I think the 14 Exodus is like happening in real time. And I don't think the game's doing itself any favors. And I don't think the fact is that FanFest is not until like next year, spring to start. The expansion definitely not making 2026 and roll out in 2027. Like that gap that it's just, I think, really kind of like taken a bad situation and made it exponentially more frustrating.
It's the Endwalker gap.
Yeah, the Endwalker gap, but beyond the Endwalker gap, there's two kind of key features that I'm like, generally I was like, when they first introduced Eureka, for me, I was like, it feels like it's a piece of content that they're trying to invite Final Fantasy 11 players to come and experience. Okay. For me, though, I was like, it's not complete. And so I went and kind of jumped back into 11 briefly during kind of the period Eureka. So I never really, put much time into Eureka. I put that time into Final Fantasy 11 at the time. Now you have the Final Fantasy 11 Vanadil raids that they've added in, bringing in the music and the zones as a part of the raid in and of itself. People, played it. And then I think essentially it's like, it's not actually acting as an invitation from 11 to 14. It's acting as an average, an invitation from 14 to 11. And I think that could be perhaps one of the things that is driving that kind of aspect. The downside is like I would think that this would be an interesting, because they aren't shared subs, because they aren't a shared launcher, because you have to go through so many hoops to play 11. The joke is that getting the game installed and getting an account is the true end game. And if you get over that, you can beat anything else in this game. Like you'll be able to
Right.
overcome anything. But I think it's really, for me, exciting to see. And that's where it's like I'm sub to 11. I'm voting with my wallet. I want either them to remake, remaster, whatever ends up being the thing. It's like I don't need you to change the combat. Honestly, like you bring in a little bit of quality of life, you upgrade the graphics, and you bring it back to consoles, baby. Like, and I think I'm going to be satisfied. And that's where, for me, I'm actually like, people are dogging on like Xbox over the weekend. They were like, Xbox is dead. It's like, dude, like the next Xbox console brings back Final Fantasy 11 inadvertently because it runs Steam. It's like, like I'm thrilled by that. I'm like, yeah, let's do this thing. And I think I'm really happy to see more and more people to kind of check it out. Now,
it's gonna be funny.
Yeah,
when
well,
you
what
load
is
Final Fantasy 11 on your Xbox, and you get to the login screen, and it says, "Please use the PC client. We no longer support the Xbox client."
It's not gonna say that because I'm gonna.
It always says that. It has always said that when you log in on the PC client, it says migration to PC client or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's some kind of weird ad thing. We're like, hey, yeah, because this is the PC. It's but you're right. Like, yeah, I guess if anybody tried to log in to play online on their Xbox 360, it's like I get it. But yeah, that I think that could change. Not with an update on the what version. I think that's just a general, the last message that they ever decide to post on Play Online. Now, Azure says that I wish that they would stop creating siloed experiences like Eureka and change the world that they have. And that's been the thing. Like Eureka and all the it is siloed because for them to go and change the whole game, it's just like it's just probably easier for them to make a new game at that point. It's like, oh gosh, it feels like it is right now. It's got to be I wonder if they've got to be having had meetings on this. Like, it's like, what's the cost? What's it going to take? What do we need? But the thing is, and I kind of fall back to it, and Chili's in chat saying that they're enjoying Blue Protocol and their new PC. So congrats on that, Chili. But the thing is like, I would love to see, the fact is that I feel and the number is made up, so you guys put in your own number. But I feel like 90% of Final Fantasy 11 already exists in 14. The graphics, the characters, the races, the monsters, the gear, like it's already here. And now with the new raid, in a way, some of the zones are already there. And I just wonder if it's like, what would it take? What would be the level of effort for them to sit here and say, yeah, we decided to remake Final Fantasy 11 in 14's engine. And the reason why I would argue for that as a developer is that anything that they do to enhance 14 or anything they do to enhance 11, all of a sudden, if they're in the same engine, both games can benefit. They don't have to go and recreate the wheel every single time that they were like, hey, we added this new enemy. Oh, cool. Guess what? It's both games have access to it, and you can end up kind of coding it that way in and of itself. And then you look at like with Horizon 11, like you have the community for the Final Fantasy 11 has been carrying that game on its back for the longest time, being able to do things. Billy says he found out that the boss still hasn't been beaten in 11 on Horizon. I'm assuming you're speaking of Horizon because when I think of that, but you can let me know. But yeah, like I'm just kind of hopeful and rooting, and that's where it's like when it comes down to it, putting your money where your mouth is. Like I want 11 to find some success again, and the fact is the numbers are exciting to see it go up, and it's like if that continues, in my mind, I don't think that could be ignored. Oh, and Chili does say it's actually
no, in real life,
real life on retail. Oh man, okay, that's really cool to see. That's really cool to see. I think there was when we look back at in the past, like the Final Fantasy 14 1.0 was supposed to be kind of the sequel. They originally, looked at like having the Mog House and 11 kind of crossover between the two and having the games connected. But I think essentially there was like kind of this cultural shift at the time, worrying about people playing too much online. And I think we've seen a lot of different cultural shifts that have happened over the course of the last like 10, 15 years. Namely, when it comes to MMOs, I think it's all like the biggest draw, which a lot of people used to use for those chat rooms and stuff. Like they're just on social media now. I look at social media as as an MMO that is clearly bigger than all the other things. It has its own quests. It has its own battles. It has like it has your ability to level up. Like in and of itself, like when it's all said and done, I think social media has been has had a very interesting impact on MMOs and have made them way more risky because they cost, all of it. I think even running, these social media companies probably pretty damn expensive. But yeah, I think we've seen all these different cultural shifts. So the question would be, is that what's it going to take? Like what's the next evolution for the MMORPG in order for it to kind of hit this, the fervor or what people wish that it could have been?
You brought up Sword Art Online earlier. I think that's kind of the next thing.
Deep dive.
That I mean that
Yeah, it's fully immersive,
right? Or an AR, augmented reality version, like they actually have a wearable glasses or something like that, and you can go around outside. At first it might be like a Pokemon Go thing.
Yeah, we already have Pokemon Go.
I know, but
it's a good idea.
I know, but like think about it. Like instead of walking around it face down on your phone looking for Pokemon or something like that, it's now
you're walking around assaulting random strangers who you didn't see.
Well, that too.
Oh, if they also have the glasses, imagine if it's like all of a sudden y'all, because like remember being kids and be like, Hadouken, like you're throwing these imaginary fireballs, but then all of a sudden with AR, like you and some random person that you run into, like, hey, we're gonna fight in this virtual kind of experience and just have that. I do think I'm more super interested in AR over VR personally. Like I get that VR's got a certain kind of draw to it, but man, AR just seems like it would be something super interesting to kind of have that that kind of experience, because I think that'd be, I mean, who knows, like a Pokemon Go without having to look down at your phone and just making it where you're looking up and seeing the world, and then it just you modify that in a way. I think that might be truly fascinating.
But I think that's kind of the next evolution, right? Because you can put out as many MMOs as you want, but at the end of the day, it's a reskin of the same core elements, It's just does this art style or whatever catch your eye or not. So with a deep dive or a VR or whatever, it kind of makes it more personable. It's you are doing the thing, not just pushing a button to do the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing with Full Dive, I've read quite a few books, science fiction books about similar things.
Science fiction sometimes has a way of proving itself out with
one of the
science fiction right here,
Yeah. One of the interesting ideas that I saw was there was a game where people would pay like $1,000 and they would go for a weekend into like a clinic where they would put them into a very, very deep sleep. And then they would like inject a bunch of drugs and stuff in them to preserve them. And like they had these machines that would like massage their muscles and like make sure that their circulation was good. And they would keep them on like a drip feed of like nutrients and stuff like they do with coma patients.
Yeah.
And they would go into the game and it would be like 2 days would be like 6 weeks. Right. And then they would come out of the game and it was like permadeath. So if you died, obviously they took you out. But the interesting part of it was streaming was done like a TV show. So they would have streaming from the perspective of and all the area around a specific person. And whenever a person would do something in the world that was like amazing or cool or great or whatever, TV companies would come and be like, hey, we'd like to purchase the rights to broadcast your adventure in the game, right? And so people would make careers playing the game that way. But the way that's different from streaming now. So like if you're a streamer now, you're like, hey, chat, blah, 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 yeah, yeah, blah, 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 yeah. Right? And you're talking to them. But in this kind of situation, it's like
shot collar for
pocket,
your dog.
Yeah. It's like a pocket dimension where like you go into it and the outside world doesn't exist. Right? And you don't even think about it. That is the kind of thing that I think is really cool. Because at least in Sword Art Online, when they're in the world, they're like, oh no, we got to get out. Like they're still thinking about the outside world. But in this kind of situation where like, you're going to be in there for like a day and it's going to be like a month-long adventure, you're not thinking about anything because you paid your $1,000. You're like, this is vacation, right?
Right.
That is the kind of immersion that I feel like needs to happen,
It's gonna be interesting to see because I've the pattern that I've noticed is more that what's going to save the MMO is the game that's we know nothing about. So for Ashes to whatever Riot's MMO to whatever the Pixel Quest Castle MMO is, and it's like okay on the horizon. For me, like I'm actually really interesting to see how PAX Day does in the long run, and this kind of like as a kind of a discussion because it's that it brings in some interesting things. It's very sandboxy in its nature, but it also came out in early access, so there's not a lot of mystery to the game. There's not a lot of like, oh, this is gonna we're gonna do all these things. Like if you experienced it already, you kind of got the gist of what it is. Now they've added in semi controller support. Like I'm waiting for the full release because I was like, yeah, I'm able to play it, but wasn't able to do everything and wasn't able to customize my controller. And that's where I was like, Blue Protocol couldn't let me do that either. But then it was like, now it's released and it does. And so I'm kind of having a little bit of hope. But yeah, there's some interesting aspects, especially because that still heavily relies on servers. I think the fact is that you have to look at how do you make it easy for people to team up and play. And I've always thought like they need to, if your MMO doesn't integrate with Discord, you're doing yourself a disfavor. Because one of the things that makes it easy is like, imagine if I could say like, hey, Brian's playing PAX Day. You click on my name and bloop, all right, cool. We're going to team up that way. Like you got to remove a lot of these barriers because it's just, I think gamers are a path of least resistance. So PAX Day does the Discord thing. Cool. However, like if it's locked away just on like one platform, I think it's going to struggle. But one of the things that is interesting to see that they're doing, and I don't know if this is like what the impact of this is that they are part of PC Game Pass. And so with any kind of like subscription service, I do wonder if that's going to end up being, the new bit, like a new business model venture for these MMOs, because I don't think you can launch an MMO with the subscription. I think Final Fantasy 14 and WoW, they have, the preliminary dominant mindset. You could, throw Final Fantasy 11 in there as well. But I don't think you can launch an MMO with the subscription unless you bundle that aspect with some other subscription that a user already has, be it in this case Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. But you could almost even kind of, attach the same thing to like, oh, you've got a Netflix subscription, you can play this game. And I wonder, like, I think MMOs are in probably the worst position that they could be in right now, because I think you have the fatigue. I think you have people's time, and those are the games that require time. And then you also have the aspect that people don't want to auto fight. They don't want to they don't want these tools. And if they did want them, they would just pay for a bot to do it in the first place. So,
well, and if they were there, then it would make the game boring and not worth playing. So
yeah.
Some things sound nice, but then when you look at like, when you really think about like how they would be implemented, it wouldn't even work. Why would you play at that point? Like Cookie Clicker, like people don't really play Cookie Clicker. I mean, it's open on their computer, but like, what are they really accomplishing?
Yeah,
well, on that note, what are you guys playing? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zara.
Say it's a lot of 6 1/2 dozen the other kind of arguments, right? It's like, hey, yeah, we could do this and that'd be great. And then you see the other side of, nah, not so much. So it's always going to be a 50-50, more or less about if it's going to, function or not. And It's getting that, a little bit of right extra oomph to get it over the edge. And sometimes you just can't get there. As the kids are in the room.
Yeah, it's probably time to start wrapping up. But so, what are you playing outside of you play Brute Protocol? Anything else as well?
I did pick up a game called Lost Soulcide, and that's the gameplay is kind of fun. It reminds me of like a Devil May Cry esque kind of thing, but the voice acting and stuff like that is so bad. It's hilariously bad, but it's funny, to say the least. That and just kind of picking up some older games. Like I downloaded and installed Final Fantasy II on my Steam Deck and just playing that out on the remaster.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they did a good job with the Pixel remaster.
And just been taking that out on the back deck because it's been like 70, 80 degree here in Pennsylvania and just sunny and just sitting out on the deck, just going at it with a beer.
October, man. October. I love it. It's my favorite time. What about you, Scrag? You playing? I know you were going hard into PoE 2 for a while. Are you still doing that?
No, I'm playing Blender currently.
The art application, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I thought he was talking
really
about
busy.
throwing, like smoothie ingredients into a blender.
Nah, Blender and Godot is gonna be my free time for a while.
I've been wanting to try Blender. I haven't played around with that, but I've seen it comes up as like we've been kind of dabbling into making our own games. It's like, oh yeah, you can. That seems to be a very popular tool. Obviously, I've praised. What's up?
I'll be a tester if you want me to.
Oh, for 100% sure. Once we get that, there's every time, and that's the thing. It's like I'm working with the studio. We're doing all kinds of things, but at the same in the same vein, it's like every time I sit down to focus in on it, other things continue to kind of come up. So it's like a constant pick up and play, and then have to come back to where we were. And there's a little bit of relearning that has to happen. If I was able to just concentrate on it, 24/7, 365, it'd be I don't know, probably an actual real game that you could be testing right now. We'll see though. And obviously I've been praising Tactics. Been playing some Protocol this coming week. I'm gonna play the New World new expansion that's dropping for free. I'm like, all right, cool. And then it's gonna be fun. And then I'm gonna check out the PAX Day when it officially releases as well. And we're still also in the multiplayer waiting room for No Rest of the Wicked. I'm sure that when it's all said and done, like, yeah, I wish I could clone. I wish I could make AI versions of myself to play all the games that I wanted to play and more. But we'll see. Well, Soro, Scrag, thank you all so much for joining us, guys. You can check out these guys. I have their links all in the description. Thanks so much to Azure and to Chili. We had a little bit of chat going on. Logan kicking us off, and Chrono, who's stuck at work and wasn't able to join in. But I appreciate you guys so much for making time. And outside of that, guys, thanks for watching. We'll be back this time next week, I guess, to talk about is technically, yeah. So it's Friday, so 7 days from now, both New World and PAX Day will be out. So we'll probably come back and talk some more MMOs and all that good stuff. So, all right. All that being said, y'all have a wonderful week. See you next time.